New Mexico just put together a special season this year as a chance to win 10 games for the first time since 1982. New Mexico will go into their bowl game with a 9-3 record, and were snubbed from the Mountain West title game due to the formula used by the conference. Had they played for the conference title and won, it would have been their first conference title since 1964. In just 1 year, Jason Eck has turned the Lobos program around, leading them to their first winning season since 2016. Eck is just getting started and could lead the Lobos to their best era in school history. This is the rise of New Mexico football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know how you would grade year 1 under Jason Eck in the comment section below. Historically speaking, New Mexico has not been the greatest football program, having not won a conference title since 1964 under head coach Bill Weeks, who won 3 straight WAC titles from 1962 to 1964. They have also only played in 13 bowl games all time, with 5 of those occurring before 1962. There have been spurts of success throughout. Dennis Francione led them to the WAC conference title game and the Insight.com Bowl in 1997, while Rocky Long went 65-69, leading the Lobos to 5 bowl games from 2002 to 2007. Long also surpassed Roy W. Johnson to become the winningest head coach in school history, but Johnson coached from 1920 to 1930. The program would hit some tough times when the Long left to be the defensive coordinator at San Diego State. Mike Loxley would go 2-26 in 3 seasons. George Barlow would go 1-7 as interim head coach. Bob Davie would lead the Lobos to their first bowl game since 2007 and 2016, going 9-4, but would go 8-28 the next 3 seasons and 35-64 overall, being fired in 2019. Then came Danny Gonzalez, who would go 11-32 in 4 seasons. There was not a lot of hope around this program, but then something shocking would happen. They would lure Bronco Mendenhall out of retirement to coach the team in 2024. This was a big deal as Mendenhall was an extremely successful head coach with a record of 135-81 between his time at BYU and Virginia. He had shocked the college football world when he decided to step away from the Virginia job in 2021 after leading the Cavaliers to the Orange Bowl in 2019. He was a highly successful coach, helping rebuild BYU going 99-43 and 36-38 at Virginia. If he was going to leave his ranch in Montana, it was going to be for a job he was passionate about. Mendenhall loved rebuilding programs and had worked as an assistant for New Mexico from 1998 to 2002. He explained, "We welcome the challenge and opportunity of building a program of excellence. We are excited to get to know the players, assemble a world-class group of people, immerse ourselves in the community, and truly make a difference at UNM." While athletic director Eddie Nunez said, "We are excited to welcome Bronco Mendenhall as our new head football coach. Throughout his process, we were looking for not just a proven winner, but a leader of men that has a clear vision for what our program can be. Coach Mendenhall has twice taken over programs that were struggling, turning them into winning championship programs." ESPN's Pete Thamel wrote, "Mendenhall has always been considered one of the sport's top thinkers who values building sound structure. Mendenhall would lead New Mexico to their best record since 2016. They would go 5-7, led by star quarterback Devin Dampier. It looked like the Lobos were going to build into something special, but then Mendenhall would shock everyone and left for Utah State. A job he said when directly asked by the Albuquerque Journal that he hadn't been approached or interviewed by Utah State for." Dick Harmon, a longtime sports columnist at the Desert News, wrote, "Bronco isn't leaving UNM for USU. His work isn't finished with the Lobos, a program he has deep ties with over time. A program that had not had a lot of hope for almost a decade saw the man that gave them hope once again bolt for another program they beat during the regular season." New Mexico would make a second home run hire, and they chose to replace Mendenhall with Idaho head coach Jason Eck. Eck grew up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, played offensive lineman at Wisconsin. He would serve as a GA under Barry Alvarez before going to Colorado in 2002. In 2004, he was named Idaho's offensive line coach, and later be named the tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator for the Vandals. He would then leave for Winona State, where he served as an assistant and was then promoted to co-offensive coordinator. He would spend the next decade serving as an assistant at Ball State, Hampton, Western Illinois, Minnesota State, and South Dakota State. In 2019, he was promoted to the Jackrabbits offense coordinator, where he was named AFCA FCS Assistant Coach of the Year. In 2022, he was hired to take over as Idaho's head football coach. When Eck took over as head coach, the Vandals program was not in a great place. They had moved down from the FBS to the FCS in 2018 and went 34-66 under head coach Paul Petrino. Eck took over a program that went 4-7 in 2021. He led the Vandals to a 7-5 record and the first round of the FCS playoffs, their first appearance in the FCS playoffs since Chris Tormey led them to the playoffs in 1995. They would fall to Southeastern Louisiana 45-42 in the first round, would go 9-4 in 2023 and 10-4 in 2024, making the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs both years. He finishes 3 seasons at Idaho with a 26-13 record, became known as one of the best program builders at the FCS level. Eck spoke on being hired, saying, "I am truly humbled to be selected as the head coach of the New Mexico Lobos. Know that the university's community, student alumni, Lobo Nation, and the greater Albuquerque and New Mexico communities are eager for success. I cannot wait to give that to them." While New Mexico Athletic Director Fernando Lovo explained, "I am thrilled to have Jason Eck as our next head football coach. Jason has led Idaho to tremendous success, turning around the program and building upon success year after year through recruiting, teaching, and strong culture." Eck would hire Bo Davidson away from Memphis, serve as the first general manager in the new era of New Mexico football. He also served as the director of player personnel at Georgia Tech. Eck would have a major rebuild on his hands, with many players transferring out following Mendenhall's departure. The biggest hit was probably losing star quarterback Devin Dampier, who threw for 2,768 yards and 12 touchdowns, while also rushing for 1,166 yards and 19 touchdowns on the ground. He would transfer to Utah, where he has been a star for the Utes this season. Eck would bring quarterback Jack Lane with him from Idaho, who threw for 1,472 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in 7 games. Against Oregon, he threw for 168 yards and a touchdown. There were concerns around his health, and he missed time during the spring with an elbow injury. Their offensive line returned Richard Pierce, but the rest of the line was replaced by transfers. They added Scott Tree Humphrey from Montana State, who rushed for 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns for the Bobcats. They also added Damon Bankston from Weber State, Sean Buchanan from Idaho. When it came to the wide receivers room, they added Keegan Johnson from Kansas State, who had 73 receptions with the Wildcats. Along with that, they added JUCO player Isaiah Blair. They also added Dorian Thompson from Arizona and Cade Keith from TCU at tight end. The defense had a lot of concerns due to the transfer portal. Their linebacking core returned Dimitri Johnson, who had 77 tackles, along with Randolph Kapai, who had 80 tackles. Through the transfer portal, they added Jackson Eck, Jason Sun, who had 134 tackles at Idaho in 2024. The secondary and defensive line was put together through the transfer portal. Keyshawn James Newby led Idaho with 10.5 sacks and 14.5 tackles for loss, and they also added Xavier Slayton as well as Darren Agu from Vanderbilt. College Football News projected New Mexico to win 3.5 games. Bill Steele projected the Lobos to finish tied for last place in the Mountain West Conference. They would also be picked in 11th in the preseason polls. New Mexico would open up the season with a tough loss to number 14 Michigan. The Lobos fought, but just came up short in the end. They would then have their home opener against Idaho State, a well-known rival for Eck, and they would get their first win of the Eck era with a 32-22 win. They then shocked the college football world on a Friday night in September, winning 35-10 over UCLA, giving Eck his first signature win at New Mexico. The win marked the largest margin of victory for a Mountain West team over a Big Ten team since September 7, 2002, when Utah defeated Indiana 40-13. The win was New Mexico's first ever win against a Big Ten team. The win is believed to be the largest margin of victory in a road non-conference game for UNM outside of games with New Mexico State since October 17, 1931, when the Lobos defeated New Mexico Military 25-0 in Roswell. They went into halftime up 14-7 and put up 21 points in the fourth quarter to shut UCLA down. 24-point outbursts in the second half led to the Lobos beating rival New Mexico State 38-20. They then fell to San Jose State on the road 35-28, followed that up with a 41-25 loss to Boise State on the road. They would then finish the season on a 6-game win streak, beating Nevada 24-22, Utah State 33-14, UNLV 40-35, Colorado State 20-17, Air Force 20-3, and San Diego State in double overtime 23-17. The victory secured New Mexico their first 6-win conference season since 2016 and preserved a perfect 6-0 home record. The 9-3 record marked the tie for the second most wins by a Lobo team, only behind the 10-1 squad from 1982 under Joe Morrison. It is their first time going undefeated at home since 1962 and their first 6-0 season at home since 1934. New Mexico would be snubbed from the Mountain West Conference title game based on the conference computer metrics. As the Santa Fe News Mexican wrote, UNLV had a composite rating of 45.50 in the MWC's alphabetic soup of nationally recognized metrics, the Connolly SP+, ESPN's SOR, KPI, and Sports Source rankings. Boise State was next at 47.75, San Diego State was third at 51, and then there was the Lobos standing in the back watching everyone else do a happy dance. Their average was 54.75. According to the computer, not in any circumstance were they even in the running. The Lobos and Boise State each went 2-1 against the other three in the mess. San Diego State went 1-1, and UNLV lost both of its games, meaning New Mexico basically got screwed while Boise State and UNLV were rewarded. They also continued to get screwed by former head coach Bronco Mendenhall, who choked away an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter against Boise State. Lovo explained, "While we respect the tie-breaking procedures that the Mountain West has in place, including the computer metrics that determine the championship game participants, we are disappointed that our student-athletes, winners of 6 straight games with victories over 2 of the league's top 3 teams, including San Diego State and UNLV, will not have the opportunity to compete for a championship next Friday. This team earned that chance with its play. Even with today's disappointment, we are extremely proud of the group. Coach Eck, his staff, and our student-athletes who delivered a season that has changed the trajectory of our program, reminded people across the state and the country what Lobo football is capable of. What Coach Eck has accomplished in one season in Albuquerque is truly remarkable, and there is no doubt he shouldn't be considered for the National Coach of the Year award. The Lobos finished with their first winning record since they went 9-4 in 2016, while playing their first bowl game since 2016 as well. Lanes finished the season throwing for 2,398 yards, 13 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, whilst rushing for 4 touchdowns on the ground. Jackson Eck led the team with 126 tackles and 6.5 tackles for loss, while Keyshawn finished with 8 sacks and 13 tackles for loss. This team is special, and Eck just signed a 5-year extension, so they should continue to build over the next few seasons. I'm so excited to watch New Mexico in their bowl game and next season and beyond. What do you think? How would you grade Jason Eck's first season at New Mexico? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.